The other group of text features actually shows up while the student is doing the reading. And these, I would argue, are more important for the comprehension part because it helps their brain to organize that information. So the first text feature that they're going to run into are headings and subheadings. Now, if you think about the old-fashioned social studies book that most of the parents of today grew up with, they were great at headings and subheadings. It lets your brain know we're going to read about colonial America. That's the heading. Then the subheading might be foods the colonists ate. It gets our brain ready to absorb that particular information. So your child needs to know the heading is this is what we're reading about. The subheading is this is exactly what we're reading about. That ties back to that whole main idea supporting detail business that we talked about on a different video. They can use that information to help them identify those main ideas and those supporting details. So you've got heading, you have subheading. As you're reading through the text underneath that subheading, you may see some bold words. Bold words are important words, and the kids need to know that. They also need to know that usually if a word is in bold, there's going to be a definition for it back in a glossary somewhere. Or if there's not a definition in a glossary, they really need to pay attention to that word because the author put that word in bold because it is a super, super important word. Heading, subheading, bold words. But then they also have this other category of text features that show up in diagrams and pictures. I cannot tell you how often I have had kids ask me, do I have to read this? Is this important? Well, yes, if the author wrote it, you have to read it because you can't determine whether or not it's critical to the story until the very end of the story. So when there's a picture and those words underneath the picture, they have to read that caption because that caption has information in it that's going to help their brain organize that what they're reading about, or it's going to have information that's not included in the paragraphs that they're reading. Likewise, on a diagram, there may be labels that are pointing to different parts. The kids have to be able to describe how those labels work. So if there's a picture of a shark, and this is even at the first grade level, there's a picture of a shark there, and then there's one that says dorsal fin, and it's pointing at one particular part of the animal. They have to be able to explain that those words, that is what that is. That part of the animal right there that it's pointing to is the dorsal fin. Or this part is showing the wrinkled skin of the elephant. They have to be able to know what those parts are for. The caption tells about the picture. The label identifies parts of the picture or parts of the diagram. The heading gives you an idea of what's coming up. The subheading lets you know exactly what part you're reading about. And the bold words are very important words to what they're reading.